I actually had to laugh at myself for a second. I was thinking of the title for this episode, and it took me back to, who knows, elementary school when kids would say, act your age, not your shoe size, or whatever that saying used to be. But there's a thing that pops up on memes once in a while that says, act your wage. And I thought I would just take a moment to talk about that. It's one of those things that where the world seems to be going right now, it is the easiest time in the world to climb the ladder and the most difficult time. And I think it all depends on your mindset. We are in a world that we want to do less and get paid more. We really don't want to get dressed up and go in the office anymore. We want to, hide out and work from home, which is all fine. It's very counterproductive if you're trying to climb the ladder, especially fast. And it's just one of those things that, your manager's often looking at you, and if you're making $40,000, they're expecting you to act like a $40,000 a year person. If you're making $70,000, they're expecting you to act 70,000. You know, anything over $100,000, the expectations start getting high as they're looking for you to act like a professional, a up and coming executive potentially. How you carry yourself means everything. And the funny thing is, I remember even when I was 19, 20 years old getting my first job in the corporate world. You saw people that just couldn't handle functioning in an office environment. You seen people 40, 50 years old that often act like children. They were immature. They were difficult to get along with. And you didn't see those people grow. They were good at their job. Like they might have been good at whatever function it is they do. They might have been good at one particular skill. But you never seen them become managers, let alone executives. So it's one of those things that at least act your wage. I always say act as professional as possible. A lot of times you read stuff online, and if someone's complaining that their food was wrong, then someone will say, a common comment you'll see is, well, they should pay their workers more. And I've always disagreed with that because I didn't grow up with much money, and I worked a lot of those quote unquote crappy jobs as a teenager, sometimes two or three at a time. And even when I was getting paid the exact minimum wage of like $5.15 an hour, I never used that as an excuse to do a crappy job. I always took pride in my work. And I think a lot of that's what led me to the success I had in the technology world and starting my own companies. But if I said act your wage, to myself back then, would I go, oh, act $5 an hour? Yeah, it might not go that well, right? And that's where I had to tell myself, hey, just keep it together. And it doesn't matter if they're paying me $5 an hour or $20 an hour. I'm here to do work and do it right. And I wanted a sense of pride too. So obviously, there's different expectations from managers and leaders based on what you make. I know they're definitely expecting someone to carry themselves differently at $90,000 than when they're at $40,000. I think a lot of times as we start to grow, we get out of college, we're making $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 or more, and we have that mindset at that point in life. And then you start getting some raises and you start growing, and then things change fast. Now all of a sudden you're making $70,000, $80,000, but are you still running around with that same mentality of when you were making 35 or 40,000? There's a different level of professionalism that you need to carry. You got to start adding to the conversation. It's like managers will often say, especially in the big corporate companies, they don't expect someone making 15, $20 an hour to add a tremendous amount to the conversation. But when you start making $80,000 to $100,000, you better start be bringing ideas to the table. You can't always be distracting and taking away from conversations. Are you dependable? Are you reliable? Yes, a company is expecting someone to show up on time and uplift other people around them when they're making $80,000, $90,000. They're not expecting that so much from someone that's making $30,000. So if you talk to people that own restaurants, especially, the type of places that pay 12, 15, 18 bucks an hour, those people call off all the time. They're often unreliable. There are some really good people out there, don't get me wrong, but the lower the wage, the less reliable people are. So as you make more money, you're supposed to be more dependable, more reliable. You're supposed to add to the conversation, bring new ideas to the table, uplift people around you. Every dollar from there on, there's more and more and more is expected from you, not just from doing your job, but from everything else. So it sounds like a silly thing, and then you see it pop up on memes, so I thought I would talk about it. But that whole thought of acting your wage, it's if you know you're growing in your career rapidly, you're making these leaps and bounds. A lot of people got big raises over the last couple of years. Are you now operating at that level? And then the next thing is, start, they talk about, I'll do another episode, but they always say dress for the job you want. Well, act in the manner that you expect that next job you want. If you want to be that next executive, are you carrying yourself like an executive? Do you hang out with the bottom pack of people, or are you trying to hang out with upper management and the executives? Who you associate with often shapes the conversations you have, the insights, and your own feelings. These are the games. It's not even a game. This is just real life. If you want to climb the ladder, if you want to get somewhere, if you want to make moves, this is the way you have to operate. You can't always kind of just hang out at the bottom and then expect to get to the top. It doesn't really work. So, my parting thoughts are act your wage, and maybe even a little bit more than that, and good things will come to you. But until then, I'm going to catch you on the next one.